Okay, well, welcome to Jim's lab bench. I work on an elevated table, which is why you can see it's sort of above the main table. And that makes life easy for my back, especially when I'm doing a lot of soldering. When I'm doing a pro build in particular, I can be here for hours working on a kit. Safety first, always safety first. If you're working with lead solder, and you probably will be, I would recommend it. It's just the easiest stuff to solder. You're going to want to have some sort of ventilation. Both of our lab benches have windows that are right near our soldering station, so we can open the window. Even in winter, we open them up. And if you've got a lot of heavy-duty soldering to do, a little fan, this is a little USB fan, and I just put it to my right so it actually blows across the soldering station. Now, you got to be really careful. You can't have too much airflow or you literally cool off the work you're trying to do. So, yeah.
So it shouldn't be directly blowing on the solder work.
Yeah.
Just above it.
Just somewhere across here, and just a gentle amount of airflow and an open window or a partly open window if it's the wintertime. That makes a huge difference in air quality. Lead solder, of course, is a hazard. So not only do you not want to breathe in the fumes when you're soldering, but when you're done working, even if you're just going to go and grab a donut or a muffin for a quick break or a cup of coffee, give your hands a quick scrub in the kitchen sink.
You don't want to be ingesting lead. Not good for you.
Yeah.
Killed the Romans.
We think. Solder flux, high quality solder flux and high quality solder will make a huge difference in the quality of your work. It'll just make life a lot easier. But solder flux, if you're using it in addition to the flux that's in the solder, that's my method. Charles uses a quad core solder that has basically three or
extra
four
flux in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how it's made. It's very expensive stuff, and he owns a whole selection of different sizes that we've basically bought and used, and even then it's expensive. I use standard solder and a no clean flux, which I still clean quite a bit off the board, but the secret to not making a mess is not to use a lot. You only need a really tiny amount.
And you really want to use a no clean. If you don't use a no clean, you have to clean it off or it's going to possibly damage the PCB or components.
Yeah. I like to use a nice big tip. This is a 1/8 tip. It's actually been put away a bit dirty, so it'll have to get cleaned before it goes into action. This looks like it's been to the wars and back, and it's done a lot of building, and it's still going strong. But a 1/8 angle chisel tip allows you to do everything from heavy work all the way down to fairly fine work. And choose the tip and the soldering gear that you like. Temperature-controlled soldering station that's got an auto-off makes life a lot easier to dial in the temperature, and it also makes things a lot safer because if you walk away from your soldering station and you forget to turn it off, which you shouldn't do, the station will turn off automatically, and that saved our bacons many times.
And of course, it's also a burn hazard too. Be careful whenever you're handling it. I mean, everybody that's watching this should have built something already with a soldering iron, so you should all know it's hot.
Yeah, but we're just going over the basics here to make sure that, we just remind you, okay, let's get organized. Okay, so it's really good to sort out your parts. You can probably see in the tray here that I've actually marked the values. So I've passed these through a multimeter set in the ohm function, and we'll talk a little bit as we install components, but we're going to check every single resistor value as we install it to make sure we're close to be on spec. If a resistor really has to be tightly matched, I'll do this. I'll stick it in an envelope, and you can see that even though it's a 5K1, I've made a note that it was selected off of a 5K1's pile that was 5.06K. Being exactly at 5K1 or 5,100 ohms is not essential in the circuit, but what is, and these are for the phase splitter circuit, what is that we have 4 resistors that are closely matched to each other that are reasonably close to 5K1. So 5060 ohms is just going to work perfectly fine in the circuit. And we've got 4 of them in here. So, yeah. So, however you want to, whether you have some old fishing trays or some other kinds of assortment trays, it doesn't matter. I like to use milk, I was going to say milk crate cartons. Duh.
Cartons.
Egg cartons, because I eat a lot of eggs, so I have a lot of these kicking around. And they're disposable. I recycle them after I'm done. And you can see we're a little crowded, but we're going to be putting parts on the boards and into this kit quickly. So we will be uncrowded, I promise you, in a minute. I'll just go and grab the hardware assortment and I'll show you how I did that. Okay, so I've got all the small bits of hardware all sorted. I didn't have room for these caps, so I stuck them on top of something. But yeah, it'll start to look a little less crowded in just a few episodes.
And if you're going to do something like this, don't put them somewhere where you could knock it over accidentally or somebody else could, like a child or an animal or something, because this will make a real mess.
Yeah, and you'll rue the day. So yeah, so we try to put them somewhere out of the path where your hand could flick it over. And you're going to have a nice big bundle of wire and shrink. Just leave everything in the bundle until you actually need something, and then once you get what you want out, put everything back in and seal it up. That way you won't lose anything, and you'll know exactly where all this stuff is. Okay, and what's the last thing, Charles?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So we're doing this a little bit differently than we have previously with other builds, in which we're going to leave the chassis portion until near the end because we don't want to scratch up the parts, the components of it.
So, and it's a big chassis, so it's going to end up taking up real estate that you probably need for other things.
Exactly. So this main PCB is wrapped up with the bottom and the top plate, but this is always the last one that goes in with them. So you should be able to partially unwrap them and take this out because this is what we're going to start building on. And you should also have the Alps PCB from your parts box as well, because we'll need that soon too.
Yeah, but if you don't need to unwrap something in the box, like the chokes, for example, just leave them in place. They're best in the box, in their box. Now, one of the first things we've got to do before we can really start building is we've got to clean the board. All PCBs arrive sort of in a clean state from the manufacturer, but they can be contaminated. And that means that the solder will not stick properly. And trust me, when you've got a board that's contaminated, it's a PETA. So I always include a high quality 3M scrubber. So bring your board over to your kitchen sink using just pure dish soap. It cannot have any moisturizer in it. It can't have scent in it. It's just got to be dish soap. Otherwise, don't do it, or you'll end up contaminating the board with some moisturizer or some junk like that. Anyways, wet the board, wet the sponge or the scrubber, put some dish soap, spray some dish soap, and just work your way all the way around in 4 different directions. I just keep turning and scrubbing.
And you're not trying to scrub a dirty pot here. It's just a fairly light scrub.
Yeah, it's just like this. And flip it over, do the same thing, and then rinse it thoroughly in lukewarm water, and then towel dry it off on a clean cotton towel and set it somewhere where it can dry thoroughly, because there will be a little bit of moisture where you're going to be soldering, and you can't have any moisture between you and the solder or you will have a real problem. Solder will bounce and splatter all over you.
And if you have really hard water with a lot of dissolved minerals, try and rinse it off with some distilled water instead. You don't want to leave any extra residue on there.
Yeah. And if you can't meet those requirements, then just don't touch the board. You're better off, the whole build is basically do no harm because all the components and everything, wire, the boards have all been carefully selected to work together. And all we have to do basically is assemble the whole thing without mucking anything up. So that's always my number one goal when I'm building something.
You don't technically have to clean it, but it does help.
Now, before I forget, when I'm sorting out the parts, I actually take from my build manual I take out, I actually have an extra copy, but you can use the copy in your build manual. And I just tick off all those little parts as I sort them. And when I put them in, I'll actually come back and I'll make a complete cross in each box as I finish up. And there's some little notes in the manual. This is actually an early version, and which I made a few little changes. There's notes to let you know some odd fasteners. Oh, that's the IEC screws. Okay, that makes sense. Those are for the XLR jack. So yeah, the notes are there just to help you out. Okay, and before we get a building, the most important thing after the build series is your manual. It's available as a free download in the store, or you can order it as a high quality print. We do it on heavy, sort of medium gloss paper, so it's a really nice print. It's not expensive. We do it in full color, and everything is in here, the full schematics. You're going to refer to these constantly as you build, so get your schematics out, get them organized. And the most important thing with the build manual is that it may have an addendum that is essentially a current revision. So where you download the manual in the store, right beside it is always the addendum download as well. Now, even if there are no changes, we put up this document here to let you know, okay, so there is no changes. Yay! So drop into the store before you start your build and check to see what the current addendum is, if anything. And if there's some changes, then of course print a copy and make sure that you keep an eye on those changes. They're usually not significant, but sometimes they are. So it's important this supersedes basically whatever we say in the build series and whatever is in the build manual. This rules, whatever is in here. Okay, well,
and we've got one last thing to go over here. So
I thought we were done.
Just about. So we just wanted to cover sort of the philosophy behind the labeling on the board here. You'll see down here we have a bit of a legend saying that we have A is the right channel and B is the left channel. And we have an uninverted phase symbol and an inverted phase symbol. And these are going to be all across the board. You're going to see components labeled with A's on the end and B's on the end. And you're going to see connection points with a out of phase and an in phase. And these are essentially marking the phase and the channel where everything is going, and it should stay consistent. And especially for these wire connection points, they are going to meet up with the same symbol and the same label wherever they're going. So that should help keep everything on track and organized and help prevent some confusion.
Yeah, so it's important that whenever you're wire jumping in particular, that you match up the channel and the phase. The board is laid out logically, and when we get to those actual build sections, we're going to slow down. Now, just a heads up, because this is for advanced builders only, we're going to skip some things that we would put in the kits that are meant for more beginner level and intermediate level, in which we'll call out all the soldering temperatures in Fahrenheit and in Celsius. We'll show a lot of methodology for beginners, and that really bogs down the videos. For advanced builders, you don't need much of that, but when we get to a tricky spot, we'll slow down and we'll take the time to go over how we did it. And then we'll speed up again when it comes to, simple, easy things that you'll know how to do. And you really don't need us to show how to do it. But we will do the entire build with you, episode by episode. We'll just omit some of the more simpler tasks that you
should already know how to do.
You would already know. Okay, well, let's get to the next episode and get a building.